This is my Technology Premiere Pro evaluation, and I'm going to be talking about how I've used Premiere Pro and how I've learned to use the technology software. I have good knowledge on Premiere Pro. I have used it before my preliminary task, The Hunter, and I believe I'm now at the advanced level. To jump straight in, the first effect I used was exponential fade, and you can find all these effects over here, and you just by typing them in. I used the exponential fade to introduce the audience and to slowly increase the audio, so it's not jarring to the audience when they first hear it. I additionally used Adobe After Effects to create this particular title. And it took me some time to actually learn how to move the file from Adobe After Effects to Premiere Pro. And I had to move it into an MP4 file and then place it into the media draft. And I wanted to make sure I was doing it correctly, so I researched it and it took me some time to work that out. As a group, we decided to add an adjustment layer of the entire project, and this was to change the colour of our sequence. It made it more dark and more gritty, and with certain scenes and shots that I had filmed and directed myself that had already had low-key lighting, they became even darker and they seemed a little bit supernatural, and I thought it was a fantastic convention. Right here I use constant power and constant gain to remove unwanted audio and to introduce wanted audio. It actually lasts for 10 seconds, from 39 seconds to around 49 seconds. And this is an example of vertical layering. In certain drafts, I added different music to see if the combination would work, but I found that these two audio files, music tracks, works well, best together. Now here, I had to use the most simple tool, the razor cut tool, just to remove unwanted audio. And in the background, we could hear the crew talking whilst the shot was going on, and I wanted to remove that, so I used the razor tool to remove it. And if you hear now, it just sounds normal, and that's the effect I wanted to achieve. Later on in the sequence, I used the Unlink tool, and this was to obtain a more real sequence, really. Now, in this certain shot, our character is running up the stairs, and you can hear her thudding upon the stairs, and it destroyed the tension and it destroyed the intensity and the realism that the audience were in. So I wanted to remove it, so I used the Unlink tool by right-clicking and going down to the Unlink and deleting the audio file. It didn't destroy the sequence or the flow of it at all, so I was very happy with what was created there. Now, at 3 minutes, it took us a lot of time to work out the correct audio, tempo, and volume to use. So we had many drafts in which different audio files was used. Now in this moment, we had to build the tension and not get too quick to the cliffhanger or the jump scare. So we had to use vertical layering to use different tempos and different volumes to create an unnatural music track. And it increased the tension, increased the danger, the sense of danger in the sequence. Now following on, we use scaling. Now, between these two shots, I had to learn how to use scaling, and in drafts, a teammate helped me to learn. So in this shot here, you can see that's actually at a scale of 100, but the following shot is at a scale of 200, and this was creating a jump zoom, and this allowed the audience to read the titles more clearly, but it was in time with the music track, so it was more impactful to the audience. Now, if you have a listen and watch it, exactly on the beat drop or the change in tempo and the volume, the shift in cuts, and it zooms in because of the use of the scale. Now, the last part of our sequence, we took some time working on the actual music involved, and we decided to remove all soundtracks from the sequence. Now, we did this so that the audience would focus more on the mise-en-scène and the cinematography of the sequence than the actual audio, which normally audience would rely on in horror films. And by doing this, the audience would concentrate more on the character's facial expressions and what's going on inside the frame. and we really wanted to make sure that our plot and our narrative was getting across, and we thought by removing the audio, this would happen a lot more clearly. Now finally, an effect that I learnt to use for the first time was Warp Stabilizer. Now, Warp Stabilizer was placed upon a zoom out, and the zoom out was done by scaling and keyframing. But the effect can be placed upon the sequence to make the zoom out more smooth, and because the zoom was actually shaky to begin with, less shaky. And the smoothness of the actual zoom out became a little bit spooky and supernatural. And we wanted this to happen, especially at the end, to show that even though it became to a new state of equilibrium, it was still a disturbance, and still something was happening to our character. A little bit of evil was still involved. So during our project, I have learned to use a lot of editing effects, and thanks to my teammates, they have taught me how to use new ones. And by researching through the internet, YouTube, and other convergent forms, I've learned to also edit. I'm very glad that I have, so I can use it in more drafts and different projects later on down the line. And I'm happy that with the project that I have finally made with my group. That was my technology evaluation for Premiere Pro.